New study suggests that catching Omicron may actually help people fend off the Delta variant. A read on that now from Associate Professor at NYU School of Medicine, Dr. Devi. Dr. Devi, always great to have you here. Look, the cases are rising. What's being reported right now doesn't even adequately measure what's happening across the country because so many people are testing with the at-home kits and not necessarily reporting those results. What we're seeing here is a continuation of some of the fear that has been out there throughout this pandemic. There are those who say if you've been vaccinated, you've been boosted, you get Omicron and suffer, mitigated, reduced symptoms, that's a good thing. We're going to head towards herd immunity, and this will be behind us in 2022.
Right, so that'll be the evolution of this, that eventually we will hit herd immunity, whether it's through natural immunity or whether it's through the vaccine. In this case, Omicron is taking over as the predominant variant, but still, even with the mild symptoms, we are making progress in that the hospitalization rates, the death rates aren't what they were in the past. But I could say here in New York City, I do hear sirens throughout the night. I do see people kind of reporting that they are positive, and that surge is creating a lot of panic. I mean, when I walk outside, what I see is lines kind of going around the block. And I think what's happened is people are focused on certain things like the masks, the vaccine debate, and they forget some of the basic infection control measures that we know from the past. Like if I look at these lines, for example, in New York City, the lines, you have food carts right in the middle of these lines just because of where they're placed. You have subway entrances also where people are coming in and out of this wall of people who have COVID symptoms who are trying to get tested. And then you have people who are waiting for boosters as well, who are packed together kind of for 6 hours at a time trying to get $100, which was the incentive that was given. So some of those folks may have symptoms as well. So although I think we're moving in the right direction, I kind of wonder whether the approach that we're taking to this is sort of forgetting, just the basic infection control measures.
You're absolutely right. I see those lines and I end up crossing the street. No reason to put yourself under those circumstances. Also we talked to other doctors who have said, don't forget, keep washing your hands, keep trying to stay healthy, take vitamins, boost your immune system. But you look at Omicron and these numbers and you think to yourself, this was anticipated by everybody. We knew we were going to see variants. We knew we would see other strains. At a certain point, when you look at, for example, the cruise industry saying you shouldn't even take a cruise now if you're vaccinated. I mean, are those kinds of measures necessary at this point? As you mentioned, the hospitalizations are not causing an alarm bell right now.
Well, I think the fear can be more paralyzing. When people get afraid, they actually forget not just quality of life, but they forget basic things. Like I think people are so afraid of COVID that they also forget about their regular health checkups and other things that they need to do. In terms of the cruises, I mean, if people are very high risk of having severe illness, complications, if they have 3 or more risk factors, that's a different story. But for regular people, I think just being locked in and living like this, it has its effects too. It can take its toll in terms of depression, anxiety, all types of things. And then just the dreariness and the bleak outlook, I think that takes its toll on people as well, which we're seeing in studies. I mean, we can see that in terms of alcoholism, substance abuse, the opioid crisis has never been worse. The liver transplant rate from alcoholic hepatitis tripled last year. So you're seeing these effects in other forms, and I think we need to take that into account, which our focus has been on COVID, but it really hasn't looked at how this is affecting people's health and well-being in so many other ways.
I hear what you're saying, and I've spoken to so many people that I know, acquaintances who have been traveling, and they said, listen, I got my vaccine, I got my booster, it's time to live life. I'm not going to lock my child up and stay cooped up during the holiday period. If it happens, it happens. It'll run through our system and we'll move forward. And, speaking to the psychological impact, there's a lot to be said for that as well.
Yeah, I think also, for people, they need to see an end in sight. And if we look at history, not just COVID, if we look at history, viruses move forward towards an evolution where they do become more contagious. They become more contagious because they're trying to adapt and infect more people. But they also become less deadly over time because it doesn't help them to kill the host because they die at the same time.
Right.
So that's sort of the natural evolution. Here, I think the focus really needs to be on treatment. Like, what are we going to do for those people who do get hospitalized, for those people who are at risk, to
Yeah.
protect them, because there are monoclonal antibodies that work, but they're not out there. There are states that have severe shortages. So what's happening? Where is the
Devi,
supply chain being disrupted?
We've been talking about that for weeks. Where are the therapeutics? Where are the monoclonal antibodies? Where are the pills in mass? So that people are able to have access to them if they are infected, and then they can move on. That's the big question. Unfortunately, you and I can't answer it. Really good to see you today. I wanted to wish you a Happy New Year as well.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Okay.